Hey, lovely people, how are you? Sandra here again, and welcome to another episode of My Life and the Bible. So, listen, today I want us to talk about a woman in the Bible called Jochebed. Who is Jochebed? Jochebed was the mother of Moses. Now, we so often talk about Moses. Moses, the man of God, the prophet of God, the man that had so much courage and led the Israelites out of Egypt. We talk about Moses and the Ten Commandments. But do you know who we don't spotlight? We don't spotlight his mother. We don't spotlight Jochebed. And the reason why I want us to talk about her today is because I truly believe that she was a woman of courage. She was a woman that was courageous enough to give birth to a child and hide him. Let's read the story, okay? So, the book of Exodus, chapter 2, is where we hear about this woman. It says that a man went to the house of Levi, found a woman, a Levite woman, married her, they conceived and had a child, and this child was Moses. Now, if you ask me, why did we want, why did they hide the child, right? Chapter 1 of Exodus tells us about how the king of Egypt wanted all the Hebrew boys killed. So every woman that conceived and had a child at the time of birth, if it was a boy, he wanted them all killed, right? Okay. So verse 2 of second of chapter 2 in Exodus says, so the woman conceived and bore a son, and when she saw that he was a beautiful child, she hid him for 3 months. Okay. But when she could no longer hide him, she took an ark of bulrushes for him, dabbed it with asphalt and pitch, put the child in it, and laid it in the reeds by the river's bank. And his sister stood afar off to know what would be done to him. Okay. Now, let's pause there for a little bit. She saw that he was a beautiful child. There was a knowing in Jochebed's spirit that the child she had given birth to was a great child. She knew. There's a different version of the Bible that says he was a goodly child. He was a good thing. There was something about him, right? So she hid him. Now, remember, the king of the country they're living in is actively trying to kill all the male children born, right? What does this woman do? She hides her child for 3 months. Now, of course, we all know that at some point you can't hide a child anymore, right? Okay. And when it got to the point where she couldn't hide the child anymore, she put the child in a basket and sent the child off, put the child at the riverbank and sent the child off. Now, the Bible continues to tell us that at the same riverbank where she put the child, sent the sister of Moses to go and see what would happen. What happens? Pharaoh's daughter is walking along the river and wants to take a shower and sees the baby and asks her maids to bring the baby. When they bring the baby, to bring the basket, when they bring the basket, they open it, they see it's a baby. The baby starts to cry and she felt compassion. The Bible says she felt compassion in her heart and wanted to keep him. Now, Moses' sister suggests to her, do you want me to bring you a nurse from the Hebrew women to take care of him, to nurse the baby? She says yes. Guess what she goes and does? Goes and brings Moses' mother to take care of him. Where? In the palace. Where? Right under the nose of the king that wanted to kill firstborn males of the Hebrews, right? Okay. But here's where I want us to go. It says, we just read that when she saw this child, she saw that he was a beautiful child. Here's my question to you. Do you know a good thing when you see it? Do you know a good thing when you actually see it? Because very many times we overlook the good things in our lives and we're able to see the good things in other people's lives. But do you see what's right before you, right under your nose? Are you able to say, my goodness, this is a good thing that I have? The Lord has blessed me with this. Do you have those moments where you reverence God for the good things that He has given you? And we are all different, so I don't know what's good for you and what's not. But whatever it is, you ought to know it. Now, my next question is, if you know that it is a good thing, what do you do? What do you do with a good thing? You treasure it, you value it, right? You see, when people have um, jewelry or precious stones, what do they do with them? They don't just put them on top of the shelf where everybody can see. No, they have secured storages for the gems. They have it under lock and key. They protect it, they preserve it, right? So, what do you do with the good thing that God has given you? Do you preserve it? Do you hold on to it? Do you look at it and know that this is so good that if I expose it to prowling eyes, I'm going to lose it? Do you preserve it in such a way that you keep going back to it to make sure that it is still intact? Do you see the good thing that you have and preserve it and want to increase its value? My next question, are you courageous enough to nurture it to the point that you can let it go? I'll tell you an interesting story in the Bible of what I think would be a good equivalent of a good thing, right? The Bible tells us that Abraham and his wife Sarah had a baby in their old age, very, very old age. Now, by the time this child comes, he's a treasure, right? He's a treasure to them. But guess what? The Lord then asks Abraham to sacrifice this child. What did Abraham do? Bundled up his son and took him to sacrifice him. Do we have the same attitude towards those things that God has given us? That if we are required to release them, we will do it freely and willingly, because after all, He gave it to you, right? Think about it. She actually, this was so daring. She actually placed the child in the hands of the people that wanted this child gone. But the interesting part is that the Pharaoh's daughter had compassion and wanted to take care of this child. So that is how come Moses grew up in the palace. Because the Pharaoh's daughter had compassion on him and she raised him. And while this story ends up sounding very nice, because guess what? Although the mother gave him away, she still got him back in a way. Because guess what? She was brought in and paid to take care of her child. That's a story for another day. But my question to you is, are you courageous enough to walk away from something that you have built, something that you have nurtured? Are you willing to let it go when God says, let it go? Do you have the boldness? Do you understand when God says, leave it now and walk away, move in the opposite direction? Does that make sense? Do you have that moment where You're like, okay, God, I see what you're doing. I can walk away from it all. To me, I find Jochebed so courageous. Even the fact that she had the child, because in my mind, I would have thought if I find out I'm pregnant, the first thing I'm going to do is maybe try to escape, right? Try to escape. Because think about it. She was pregnant for 9 months, right? So that technically means that this whole time she was walking around with a child inside her growing, with knowing at the back of her mind that this child might be killed. So I don't know if the rest of you think like this, but wouldn't you think like maybe let me run away? Let me let me find a way to escape. Let me find a place that I can go to. No, she stayed. And when she had the child, she knew this child was meant for greatness. Gosh, my God. This child was meant for greatness. And boy, was she right. Boy, was she right. Because look how it turned out. But that also goes to tell us that God orchestrates these things because He knows the end from the beginning. His word says that before you were conceived in your mother's womb, He knew you. So He knew Moses, He knew the plan. So He had to devise means to ensure that he was protected. So, my other question to us is, if that is the case, then why do we not trust God? Why do we not trust God? And yet He's the one who has given you this thing that you've been asking for. Or even though you didn't ask for it, and he was merciful enough to give it. What then gives you the impression that it is yours to keep and He doesn't get to have a say in it? You see, the reason why I want us to talk about this is that we ought to be like Jochebed. We ought to be courageous enough to see a good thing and know it is a good thing and preserve it. We ought to know that Jochebed represents courage, courageous enough to put her son by the riverbank, courageous enough to even go nurse him in Pharaoh's palace. So, my question to you is, are you courageous enough to hold on to the promise of God in your life? Are you courageous enough to also let it go when He tells you to let it go? Tell me your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you think, because I think we ought to be Jochebeds. Because many of us have a Moses that we ought to birth, to nurture, to hide, and then let God do the finishing. I love you. God bless you. And until next time.